Śrī Gurubhyo Namaha. Sharadam Chandramauleesham Ratnagarbhaganeshwaram Shankaran Charshashrungesham Tungam Lokagurun Bhaje Shastrabdhi Paradrishvanam Sangahinam Taponidhim Bhaje Shri Bharati Tirthagurum Bhadraughadayakam Shrutisaravidam Shantam Shishyvatsalya Shevadhim Brahmanishtham Bhaje Bhaktya Vidhushekhara Bharatim Yasyechhayaiva Bhuvanani Samudbhavanti Tishtanti Yanti cha Punarvilayam Yugante Tasmai Samasta Phalabhoga Nibandhanaya Nitya Prabuddha Muditaya Namah Shivaya. Offering my Sashtanga Pranamas to the Ubhaya Jagat Gurus. On this auspicious occasion of Shivaratri, we will be taking the next hour or so to discuss one of the greatest mantras that the Rishis have given us. Whenever we worship Bhagavan, in whichever form it may be, Vishnu, Shiva, Devi, Ganesha, the Shastra always gives us a particular mantra that we can use to obtain the grace of that Devata. The mantra is not merely a sound used to propitiate the Devata, but indeed the Shastra tells us that the mantra is no different from the Devata. Just as a Vigraha, that is to say an image of Bhagavan with a head, hands, feet, a torso, is yet another form of Bhagavan, so too is the mantra the sonic form of Bhagavan. When we worship Bhagavan as Vishnu, we have the Ashtakshari Narayana Mantra, the Dvadashakshari Vasudeva Mantra, so on and so forth. When we worship Bhagavan as Devi, we have of course the Panchadashi, the Shodashi, the Navakshari, Saraswati Mantras, Lakshmi Mantras, so on and so forth. When we worship Bhagavan as Ganapati, we have the Vallabha Ganapati Mantra, the Vakratunda Ganapati Mantra, Heramba Ganapati Mantra, so on and so forth. In the same way, when we worship Bhagavan as Shiva, there are many mantras that are used. Of them, the foremost is the Pañcākṣarī Mantra, renowned as Namah Shivaya, which all Astikas are very familiar with. The Shastras have ascribed great importance to this mantra, not only in terms of its efficacy, but also in terms of its philosophical import. The Skanda Purana, Vayu Purana, Shiva Purana, Padma Purana, all of these Puranas discuss the efficacy of the mantra and have also detailed the stories of bhaktas who have used this mantra to obtain the grace of Parameshvara and in due course of time attain moksha from samsara as well. In this regard, before we discuss the meaning of the mantra, there is one story that I would like to recount from the Skanda Purana, found in the Brahmottara Khanda. There was a king named Daśārha. He was of the Yadu dynasty. He was a predecessor of Paramatma Shri Krishna. He was a dharmic king, a valorous king. And in due course of time, he married the daughter of the king of Kashi, whose name was Kalavati. After marriage, when he sought to touch Kalavati, he found that every time he laid a hand on her, her body would burn his hand. And perplexed by this, he asked her the cause of this strange circumstance, to which the queen Kalavati replied that when she was young, she had received Pañcākṣarī Mantra Diksha from the great sage Durvasa Maharshi, and that Maharshi, having given her the Pañcākṣarī Mantra, had told her to do japa of this mantra with the utmost focus and the utmost shraddha. Having done so, her body became devoid from all faults. Her body became completely pure, and it also became so pure that nobody who had sin was capable of touching her. Anyone with sin could not even lay hands on her. So she told the king that, given that this is my situation, and also given that you do not do Shivaradhana, you do not worship Parameshvara, you are incapable of touching me. To which the king, extremely taken by the efficacy of this mantra, by the great capability of this mantra to purify one's body thoroughly, he asked the queen to impart to him that same Pañcākṣarī Mantra as well. To which the queen replied that, as I am younger than you, it would not be proper for me to teach you the mantra, but let us instead go to our Purohita, our Kulaguru, Garga Maharshi, who we see also in the Srimad Bhagavata as the Kulopurohita of the Yaduvamsha. He alone does the Namakarana and the other samskaras of Krishna Paramatma. Let us go, the queen told him, let us go to Garga Maharshi, who will bestow upon us the Pañcākṣarī Mantra, and thereby give you the opportunity to propitiate Parameshwara through this mantra. So when they go to Garga Maharshi, there is a long description of how Garga Maharshi performs the Upadesha of the Pañcākṣarī Mantra to this king named Daśārha. He has him take bath in the Yamuna river. He has him do Upavasa for one night. The next day he has the king come in Shaucha. The king sits facing east upon Darbhas, and then under a tree, placing his hand upon the king's head, Garga Maharshi does Upadesha of the Pañcākṣarī Mantra to the king Daśārha. The second that this Upadesha is performed, very surprisingly, the king sees thousands upon thousands of crows coming out of his own body with burnt wings, burnt faces, burnt tails, and falling upon the ground and turning into ash. Perplexed by this strange turn of events, he asks Garga Maharshi what has happened to him, where these crows are coming from and what has happened. To which Garga Maharshi replies that the second that this Pañcākṣarī Mantra became rooted in your heart through my Upadesha, the second that you have truly received this Pañcākṣarī Mantra, not just having it whispered into your ear, but truly taking it to heart, the second that this mantra became rooted in you, all the papas that you have done of many janmas past, those that you have done through the bodies of humans, those that you have done through the bodies of animals, all papas that have been committed by you, unable to remain in you, have come out in the form of these crows and are burning up. Because this mantra has the unique capacity to release humans from the bondage of karma. That is the inner meaning of this story. That karma will not bind someone who has truly taken this Pañcākṣarī Mantra to heart and truly understood this Pañcākṣarī Mantra. Gladdened by this, the Rishi once again does namaskara to the Guru Garga Maharshi, and with his queen returns to his kingdom and continues to rule the kingdom dharmically. I recount this story because the fruit ascribed to the Pañcākṣarī Mantra in this story, that is to say, it completely purifies the karanas, the body, mind and speech, and it relieves the jiva of all papas that have been committed in past lives. These qualities that are ascribed to the Pañcākṣarī Mantra are actually the qualities ascribed to jnana. As we know, in the Vedic fold, in the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma, the stance is that jnana devatu kaivalyam tamevam viditva amritatvameti nanyah panthaha vidyate ayanaya. It is only through knowing Paramatma, it is only through knowledge that one can attain moksha. There is no other path to it. Karma, upasana, yagas, homas, danas, vedadhyayana, all of these are useful in getting chitta shuddhi such that we get jnana. But at the end of the day, it is jnana alone that will ensure liberation from the cycle of samsara. So those are the qualities. So the qualities of jnana, the fruit of jnana, has been ascribed to the Pañcākṣarī Mantra in this story. This is possible only because the true purport of the Pañcākṣarī Mantra, if we treat it not just as 5 syllables for us to repeat, but if we treat it rather as a Mahavakya, if we treat it as a Vedantic statement, as an Upadesha, then will this Pañcākṣarī Mantra not only be a means of worship, but indeed it will also be a means of knowledge. And indeed this is also what the Shastras also do tell us. Mahāpātaka vichhityai Shiva ityakṣaradvayam alam namaskriya yuktaha muktaye kalpate manuho. This is what the Shastras tell us. Shiva ityakṣaradvayam, the 2 letters known as Shi and Va, which are Mahāpātaka vichhityai alam, which are enough to grant us freedom from all our karma. Namaskriya yuktaha, when coupled with the namaskara, that is to say Namah Shivaya, when coupled with the namaskara, muktaye kalpate manuho. This mantra indeed gives us moksha. So, when we look at the true meaning of this mantra, we shall see that this mantra is indeed the summary of the Upanishadic statements which teaches about the true nature of Jiva Brahmaikya. Namaskarena, to which the Purana tells us here, Namaskarena Jivatvam Shivetra Paramatmani Aikyam Gataha Ato Mantraha Parabrahmamayo Hyasau. This is yet another statement that we find in the Puranas, that the word Namaha refers to the state of being a Jiva. Shivetra Paramatmani Aikyam Gataha, when it is offered to Shiva, the unity of the Jiva with Brahman is discussed, and thus Parabrahmamayo Hyasau. This mantra is indicative of that singular Paramatma who runs this Jagat as Īśvara and appears in each individual as the Jiva. So, when we break down this mantra, we see that there are mainly two parts to this mantra. There is a Namaha, there is a Namaskara, and Shivaya. The name of Bhagavan as Shiva is also found in this mantra. The name Shiva itself has great Vedantic significance. Of course, every name of Bhagavan has this, whether it is the name Narayana or Durga or Ganesha, every single name has great Vedantic significance. The name Shiva ever more so, because the word Shiva itself contains within it numerous meanings. We see one shloka that beautifully sums all of these meanings up. Shetesmin jagat ihate dishati cha shreyah prajanāmasau shantim yati samasta mangala guna gramaika simayate ichha shakti mupaiti nirmalatarash chaste prakrityeti cha vyachaste shivanama yasya vibhavam tasmai parasmai namaha. We do namaskara to that Paramatma whose greatness is known through the word Shiva alone. Shiva nama yasya vibhavam vyachaste yasya tasmai namaha. We do namaskara to that Paramatma whose greatness, whose totality is summarized in the two letters named Shiva. How is this? We say that each meaning has been delineated in this shloka. Shete asmin jagat. Shete asmin niti Shivaha. That is one derivation that is given. The entire jagat rests in him. Therefore, he is called Shiva. Dishati cha shreyaha. He gives us Shiva. That is to say, the word Shiva means auspiciousness. Sashreyasam Shivam Bhadram Kalyanam Mangalam Shubham. Thus goes the Amarakosha. So the word Shiva refers to auspiciousness, and Dishati cha Shreyaha Prajanam. He gives everyone auspiciousness. This too, of course, is one of the most important qualities of Paramatma. Bhagavan also says in the Gita, Name dveshyosti na priyaha samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha. I am equal to all beings. There is no being that is particularly dear to me. There is no being that I am opposed to, and yet I am ready to grace everyone because I am Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Jnatva Mam. I am indeed the greatest well-wisher of all beings. So this quality of Bhagavan, that he wishes well for all, but is not particularly favored to or opposed to any singular being. There is no pakshapata. Bhagavan is not partial. However, he is ready to grace anyone that seeks refuge in him. This is exactly what we see in the story of Shiva in many places, and in the Mahabharata, Shiva himself explains this tattva to the devatas, wherein he says, Samabhavanti me sarve danavash chamarashchaye shivamichan hi bhutanam shivatatena me suraha. This is what Shiva tells the devatas. Samabhavanti me sarve, all beings are equal in front of me. Danavascha amarashchaye, whether they be devatas or rakshasas, I have no feelings of partiality towards any class of being. And Shivosmi Sarvabhutanam, I am therefore auspicious towards all. Whoever seeks refuge in me will be appropriately graced by me. And indeed we see this in the stories of Shiva, wherein the bhaktas of Shiva contain all sorts of beings. You have normal humans and kings that we see in the Puranas. You have devatas like Chandra, Vishnu, Brahma, Indra that have sought refuge in Shiva and obtained great phalas due to that. Chandra has remained as the Nitya Kala on Shiva's head due to Shiva's grace. We see that Shiva has given Vishnu the Sudarshan Chakra. Of course, Vishnu has also given Shiva the Trishula. In the same way, Brahma has also been graced by Shiva. Then amongst rishis, we have rishis like Upamanyu, Agastya, Vyaghrapada, Vasishtha, all of these great rishis, Shuka, all of these rishis have worshipped Shiva and received the fruit of his grace. In the same way, we have Rakshasas as well. We have Banasura, Andhakasura, Ravanasura. All of these Rakshasas have also worshipped Shiva and obtained fruits from him. Then you have Yakshas like Kubera who have worshipped Shiva and obtained the lordship. Kubera has worshipped Shiva and obtained the lordship over Yakshas. In this way, we see that all sorts of beings, all sorts of individuals have worshipped Shiva, and Shiva has given them all the fruit that is in accordance with their worship. When it is rishis that worship Shiva, he has given them sattvic fruit such as jnana. When it is Rakshasas that worship Shiva, he has given them what they have asked for that has later led to their downfall, such as in the case of Banasura. When it is Devatas that worship Shiva, he has given them sattvic fruits again in accordance with their worship, and he has given them lordship over various segments of the universe. In this way, we see that quality of Paramatma, wherein he graces bhaktas in accordance with the style of worship, and he does not harbor partiality in his heart towards anyone. This we see in Shiva, which is why dishati cha shreyah prajanam. This is one more meaning of Shiva. Shreyah Shivam dishati. Shantim yati. Shamyati iti Shivaha. He is ever calm. He is not agitated by anything that goes on in the world around him, being the foremost of yogis. So Shantim yati iti Shivaha. Samasta mangala guna gramaika simayate. As Īśvara, when he is indeed the omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent being that is responsible for the creation, sustenance and dissolution of the entire cosmos, he acts as the summation of all auspicious qualities. Samasta mangala guna gramaika simayate. Shivaha asti iti Shivaha. He himself is auspicious. He gives us auspiciousness, therefore he is called Shiva. He himself is auspicious to the utmost, so he is called Shiva. And Ichha Shakti Mupaiti, unchecked will is found in Shiva. It is Paramatma's will alone that runs this world. The Upanishad too refers to him as Satya Sankalpaha. He whose will is unfailing. He whose will is unchecked. He whose will is sure to manifest as the Jagat. So that is the Ichha Shakti of Paramatma. Ichha Shakti Mupaiti. Vashti. The root Vashti means to desire. Vashti iti Shivaha. He who desires, he who wills this entire cosmos to exist and function in an organized way is Shiva. And the highest meaning that this word Shiva is telling us, all of these are qualities of Īśvara. That is to say, Paramatma, when we view him as the master of the universe, when we view Paramatma in that mode, then all of these meanings of the word Shiva apply. But in the higher sense, when we view Paramatma bereft of the Jagat, when we view Paramatma as what Paramatma truly is, when we view the Svarupa of Paramatma, then the greatest meaning of Shiva is Nirmalatarash chaste prakritya. He is by nature, prakritya, here prakriti means by his own nature, Nirmalataraha aste. He is the most pure entity because he is not touched by any of the gunas. He is not touched by anything material. He is bereft of all gunas. He is Nirguna, Nirakara, Niranjana, and therefore he is the most pure, and therefore he is called Shiva. Which is why the Upanishad too, when it describes Bhagavan in the Nirguna state, it tells us Adrishyam, Avyavaharyam, Agrahyam, Alakshanam, Achintyam, Avyapadeshyam, Ekatma Pratyasaram, Prapanchopashamam, Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam Manyante. When discussing Paramatma as that which cannot be seen, that which cannot be thought of, that which cannot be spoken of, that which exists beyond this Jagat, Prapanchopashamam, therefore Shantam, it is devoid of any Bheda within it. Shivam Advaitam Manyante, that non-dual Tattva of Paramatma is aptly described as Shiva. And interestingly, in the Vishnu Sahasranama as well, when commentating on the shloka Sarva Sharva Shivasthanuhu, in the Vishnu Sahasranama, when commentating on the name Shiva, Bhagavatpada too says the same, saying Nistregunyatva Nirvikalpako Bhavati Shuddho Bhavati iti Shivaha. Bhagavan, Paramatma, is called as Shiva because he is devoid of the three gunas and therefore devoid of the vikaras, of the changes and the fickleness caused by these three gunas, the limitations caused by the gunas. All beings that have the three gunas are limited. Bhagavan, because he is devoid of gunas, is unlimited. Therefore, this name Shiva is indeed a reminder of Bhagavan's Nirguna Tattva. It does contain the nature of Bhagavan as Īśvara within itself, but it also remains as a mark of Bhagavan's Nirguna Tattva as well, which is why these two letters are held to be exceedingly pure. This too we see told in many places in our Shastras, wherein the name Shiva, the word Shiva is described in the Bhagavata as Yad Vyaksharannama Gireritan Ranam Sakrit Prasangat Aghamashu Hanti Tat. This is how the Srimad Bhagavata Purana describes the Shiva Nama. Yad Vyaksharannama, those two letters of Bhagavan's name known as Shiva, Gira Iritam, if spoken, and Sakrit Prasangat, perhaps not even willfully, but if spoken once in passing, Aghamashu Hanti Tat, it is capable of removing the sinful tendencies of the mind. That is the greatness that is ascribed to the Shiva Nama. And indeed this mantra called Namah Shivaya and these two letters named Shiva are not just mantras found in Mantra Shastra, but we see that they are indeed, this mantra is indeed found in the very heart of the Veda. That is why we have one more shloka in our Shastras Vidyasu Shrutirutkrishta. Out of all the forms of knowledge that we have in the Chaturdasha Vidyas, the 4 Vedas, the 6 Vedangas, Nyaya Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Purana, in all of these Vidyas, the highest Vidya is Shruti, as it has emanated as the very breath of Paramatma. It is not Paurushaya, it is not composed by any one individual. Therefore, out of all forms of knowledge, Veda occupies the highest place. And there too, within the Veda, Vidyasu Shruti Rutkrishta Rudraikadashini Shrutau. Within the Veda as well, we find that the Rudra Prashna is found in the very heart of the Yajurveda and is indeed very efficacious and very special, because we do not see such a long stuti for any other devata. There is no other portion of Veda wherein so much space is devoted to doing namaskara to only one devata. Therefore, the Rudraikadashini, the Namaka, the Rudra Prashna is of particular importance within the Veda as well. Vidyasu Shruti Rutkrishta Rudraikadashini Shrutau Tatra Pañcākṣarī. Within that, in the middle, in the Anuvaka that begins with Namah Somayacha Rudrayacha, in the heart of that Anuvaka we get the phrase Namah Shankarayacha Mayaskarayacha Namah Shivayacha Shivatarayacha. This is the phrase that we get within the heart of the Rudra Prashna. And therefore, Tatra Pañcākṣarī, in that we get the total of those 5 letters, Namah Shivaya. And within that as well, within the Pañcākṣarī as well, Shiva ityakṣaradvayam, Tatra Pañcākṣarī, Tasyam Shiva ityakṣaradvayam. Within that Pañcākṣarī, the 2 letters of Shi and Va are the highest teaching of the Vedas, because it teaches us Paramatma's Nirguna Tattva, which is of course Paramaparancha Brahma, the 2 natures of Brahman. The one nature that is Saguna, that runs this world, and his true nature of Paramatma, which is Nirguna, which is the Tattva that is to be known. That Tattva is taught through the word Shiva, which is why Veda itself has ascribed such an importance to this name Shiva. It is not just the name Shiva or these 2 letters in this mantra, but indeed the fact that this mantra is 5-lettered is also a point of interest. Bhagavatpada has composed a text named the Prapanchasara Tantra, in which he delineates the forms of upasana of all devatas, their mantras, the rishis, the chandas corresponding to it, the homa vidhana, the tarpana vidhana, all of this is described in this text. In it, while talking about the Pañcākṣarī Mantra, Bhagavatpada describes the significance of its being 5-lettered. Asyaksharanyamonicha panchasyuh pañca-bhūtagani tatha jagadapi bhūtarabdham tena hi jagadatmata uditasya manoh, is what Bhagavatpada says there. This mantra, Asya Aksharani Amuni Panchasyuh, the letters of this Pañcākṣarī Mantra are said to be 5 in number. And Pañca-bhūtagani tatha, these 5 letters are representative or are indeed indicative of the pañca-bhūtas. These letters are found as the pañca-bhūtagani, pañca-bhūtatvena gamyante. They are to be known to be the pañca-bhūtas. And Jagadapi bhūtarabdham, this entire cosmos is nothing more than a combination of those 5 bhutas, Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala and Prithvi. These 5 bhutas when combined form the entirety of this cosmos. Therefore, Jagata tenahi, due to this fact, tenahi Jagadatmata udita asya manoha. This mantra is verily the summation of the entire cosmos. Just as we say that it is Bhagavan himself who appears as this cosmos, this mantra too, having in it 5 letters which are representative of the 5 bhutas, is indicative of Bhagavan's appearing as this entire cosmos. So this is one more Vishesha, this is one more point of interest that is to be noted in this 5-lettered mantra. This mantra is also known as the Shiva Shadakshari. The Puranas do talk about this as the Shaiva Shadakshari. It becomes 6-lettered when a Bijakshara is attached to the mantra in the beginning. That is to say, when the pranava is attached, that is the main form of the Shaiva Shadakshari, that we call it the Shadakshari when it is the Omkara followed by Namah Shivaya. Of course, when the Shakti Bija, the Maya Bija is added, it then becomes the Shakti Panchakshari. When the Prasada Bija is added, it becomes Prasada Panchakshari. In this way, Mantra Shastra has many other forms of this Pañcākṣarī Mantra. However, the highest form or the most universal form, the root form of this mantra is the Pañcākṣarī, which is Namah Shivaya. And this mantra does not require special initiation. This mantra does not have the restrictions placed upon it that the Shiva Shadakshari or the Prasada Panchakshari, the Shakti Panchakshari have upon it. This mantra is meant for universal japa. This mantra is not limited to any one part of society, which is why the Purana also tells us, Tasmat Sarvaprado Mantraha Shiva Panchakṣara Smritaha Soyam Panchakṣara Smritaha Stribhi Shudresha Sankirnaihi Dharyate Muktikāṅkṣibhihi. This mantra is said to be most efficacious for those who want moksha. There is nothing else that one needs to think of if this mantra is there. We do not need to seek other mantras, we do not need to seek other homas, other danas, other yajnas. This mantra, the japa, the japa of this mantra with proper faith and proper inquiry into this mantra suffices to give one moksha. Dharyate moksha kāṅkṣibhihi. And there is no limit on this. There is no restriction placed upon this mantra, either due to gender or class or birth or any other bheda that society may impose on anyone. It is universal. This mantra is meant for everyone to do japa of. And nasya diksha, na samskaraha, na cha homaha, na tarpanam, na kalaha, nopadeshascha. Shuchirayam mantraha is what the Purana also tells us. This mantra does not need a specific upadesha. This mantra does not need some homa to be performed with it. This mantra does not need any tarpanas to be performed with it. This mantra does not require any other separate samskara. This mantra is pure on its own. Shuchirayam manuhu. This mantra is pure on its own, because it is indeed a Nama mantra. The Namah Shivaya mantra is a Nama mantra, and therefore it contains the Shakti of the entirety of the Upanishads, but is in reach for everyone regardless of who they may be. As we said, the Bhaktas of Shiva span the entire class of beings, from Rakshasas until Devatas, from kings to rishis. Everyone is privy to the grace of Shiva, and this mantra too is no different, which is why indeed it is called Ashesha Vedopanishad Purana Shastravatamsoya Maghantakari. This is how the mantra is described. It is the essence of the Vedas, Shastras and Puranas, and it is available to all such that it can become Aghantakari. It can destroy the papas and thereby lead them to moksha. So in connection with this, now that we have looked at the name Shiva and seen the efficacy of the name Shiva as well as the greatness of this Pañcākṣarī Mantra, we will be looking at the Purana's explanation of the meaning of the mantra based on the Sudhā Saṁhitā. The Sudhā Saṁhitā is an ancillary portion of the Skanda Purana. It is an exceedingly Vedantic text. In it, Vyasa Maharshi gives us many Upanishadic treatises. Indeed, many mantras of the Upanishads themselves are repurposed as shlokas and given to the reader. Many Vedantic concepts are discussed. It is a very esoteric section. And in it, in the Yajna Khanda, the 8th Adhyaya is devoted to discussing this Pañcākṣarī Mantra. In it, the Sutta Pauranika begins by saying, Shadaksharam pravakṣyāmi samasena sushobhanam yena samsara vichittihi brahmendradi vibhutayaha. He says, I will now talk about the Shiva Shadakshari, and then later on ends up talking about the Pañcākṣarī Mantra. And here too we see that the fruit of this mantra is samsara vichittihi, the breaking of the cycle of samsara, and in a more worldly sense, brahmendradi vibhutayaha. This mantra is capable of giving someone the capability that either Brahma, Indra or other Devatas have. So here, as we know, Prathamam Pranavam Vidyat, Dvitiyantu Nakarakam, Makaram Tatparam Vidyat, Shikarantu Tatafparam, Vakaram Panchamam Vidyat, Yakaram Shashtamevacha, Itham Shadaksharam Vidyat, Jabalopanishad Gatam. So this Shaiva Shadakshari, that is to say the Pañcākṣarī with the Pranava, is discussed in the Jabalo Upanishad in this particular sequence, the Omkara, the Nakara, Makara, Shikara, Vakara and Yakara. Now, when we discuss this mantra, we first of course have to talk about what the word Namaha means. So it is there that the discussion of the mantra starts. Namah Shabdo Namaskara Vachakah Parikirtitaha. The word Namaha refers to the Namaskara. Then what does the word Namaskara mean? Prahvata Lakshanah Prokto Namaskarah Puratanaihi. The word Namaskara refers to Prahvata, that is to say, to be bent over, to bow to something, to submit yourself to something. That is the meaning of the word Namaskara. Now we get the question, what does it mean to bow to something? It is not just the physical act of bending over. It is not just the physical act of joining your hands together and bending your head down. What does this prahvata dictate in a higher sense? That is being described here. Prahvata nama. Prahvata means jivasya shivat satyadi lakshanat bhedena bhasamanasya mayaya na swarupatah sambandha eva teneva sopi tadatmya lakshanaha. That is what the word prahvata means. This jiva who is bhedena bhasamanasya, he appears to be separate from Shiva who is satyadi lakshanat. By the word Shiva here, we are not just talking about a devata who sits atop Kailasa with the moon on his crest, who has smeared vibhuti over his body, who has a snake in his neck. We are not just talking about this devata. We are talking about that Paramatma who is satyadi lakshanaha. That Paramatma whose Nirguna Tattva has been described in the Upanishads as Satyam Jnanamanantam Brahma. That Paramatma whose nature is pure existence, pure consciousness and pure Ananda. That Paramatma, the Jiva appears to be separate from him. Why? Bhedena bhasamanasya mayaya. It is due to the power of Maya that this cosmos has come, that the Antahkarana is there, that the Jiva is reflected into the Antahkarana and therefore appears separate. Just as the face when reflected in a mirror, in a mirror, appears to be separate from the actual face. So too the Jiva when reflected in the Upadhi, when reflected in the Antahkarana due to the power of Maya, appears to be separate from Paramatma, that we say that Paramatma is separate and the Jiva is separate. So, Bhedena bhasamanasya mayana swarupataha sambandha. That relation between the Jiva and the Paramatma, which is due to Maya, is what we call prahvata. Bowing down to Paramatma means recognizing that the Jiva is nothing more than a mere reflection of Paramatma, or the Jiva is nothing more than a projection of Paramatma due to Maya. This is the true nature of prahvata, of what it means to do namaskara. Submitting oneself to Paramatma with this name. Just as the river submits itself to the ocean, knowing that its water has originated from the ocean and now that water has become separate due to some natural processes, and now the river offers its water back to the ocean and attains unity with it. Just as the Upanishad also does tell us, Yatha nadyas yandamanas samudre astangachanti namarupe vihaya. Just as rivers flowing attain unity into the ocean, having left aside their separate unique shapes and names, so too tatha vidvan namarupad vimuktaha. So too the jnani, having obtained jnana of Paramatma, namarupad vimuktaha, casting aside the qualities of his upadhi, which are the name and the form, parat param purushamupaiti divyam. He attains unity with that Paramatma. So that quality of the relationship between the Jiva and Paramatma is described as prahvata. The bowing down to Paramatma means recognizing the true nature of the relationship between oneself and Paramatma and behaving accordingly. Now, also knowing that Paramatma is of this Nirguna Tattva and this Shuddha Tattva, therefore now we come to the breakdown of the word Namaha. So the word Na means Tasmad Bubhutsor Jivasya Nopadeyam Hitam Sada Na Heyam Ahitam Tadvat Vastuto Na Pratititaha Evam Vidyan Nakarartham. The word Na means negation. The word Na means negation. What is it negating? Therefore the Jiva, knowing that his true refuge is Paramatma, should not seek Hita or Ahita. There is nothing, bubhutsoha jivasya. The Jiva should not seek something that is upadeya, he should not seek to take anything, and he should not seek anything that is varjya, that is heya, that is to be renounced. That is to say, the Jiva should not seek sukha or seek to get rid of dukkha from material objects in this world. He should negate the desires that he has towards anything in this jagat. That is the word of nakara, means na upadeyam, na heyam, na upadeyam bhavet. The Jiva should not have anything that he seeks. He should not have anything that he seeks to get rid of. He should only be focused on Paramatma. Then, what is the meaning of makara? Makarartha udiryate, makaro mama shabdartha luptas tveko makarakaha. Vyavaharika drishthyayam namaskarah prakirtyate. So, the word makara is actually the word mama. The word mama has become ma. They say later in the Vyakhyana also, the Vidyaranya Mahaswami has written, Madhavacharya has written a Vyakhyana for this Sudhā Saṁhitā. In that he says, Makara Lopaha Chandasaha. So the word Maha here actually means, the word Ma, the letter Ma here actually means Mama. So Mama Hitam Nasti, Mama Upadeyam Nasti is what the Jiva should feel. There is nothing that is dear to me. There is nothing that is undear, that is unpleasing to me. There is nothing that is desirable by me. There is nothing that is undesirable by me. This meaning is conveyed in the Namaha, in the Namaskara. This is what the Purana has told, that I am Vyavaharika Drishtya Ayan Namaskara Prakirtyate. When discussing worldly terms, this is how we will define the Namaskara, that Upadeyam nasti, heyan nasti, na mama asti. Upadeyam na mama asti, heyan na mama asti. There is nothing that I find desirable, there is nothing that I find undesirable. This is the meaning that is attributed in the Laukika sense to this. In the higher sense, we have already seen the meaning of Namaskara, which is Prahvata, bending to Paramatma, knowing that Paramatma is our true nature and we are merely a reflection of that, we are merely a projection of that due to Maya. So in the higher sense, in the Paramartha Drishti, that is the meaning of Namaskara. In the Vyavahara, the meaning of Namaskara is that there is nothing that is Heya or Upadeya to a Jiva who is Bubhutsuhu, who desires to know the Tattva of Paramatma and thereby attain moksha. Now, what is the meaning of the word Shiva? Tasmat Purnasya, Tasmat Prageva Prayogadeva Sarvatra Sarvartha Shiva Evahi, Tasmat Shivasya Purnasya Pranavo Vachaka Smritaha. The nature of Shiva as Pranava is also discussed in this mantra, and indeed here we say Athakim Bahunoktena Shiva Danyan Navidyate Shivaswarupam Evahu Idam Sarvam Vichakshanaha. What is Shiva? What does the word Shiva refer to? Shiva is that Paramatma who appears as this entire Jagat. Shiva is that Paramatma who appears as this entire Jagat. Shiva Danyam Navidyate. As we said earlier, it is that Paramatma who, as Īśvara, creates this Jagat out of his own Shakti, sustains it and dissolves it into himself. So, in that sense, just as there is no pot separate from clay, just as there is no river separate from water, in the same way, there is no Jagat that is devoid of Īśvara. It is Īśvara alone who, through his own Shakti, creates this Jagat within himself. Therefore, Shivaswarupamevahu idam sarvam. Shiva is that Paramatma who is omnipotent and appears to us as this Jagat. Shivadanyan navidyate. Therefore, Shivaswarupamevahu idam sarvam. Then we may get the question, then why is it that we see multiplicity? If everything is Paramatma, if everything is this Paramatma, then why is it that we see so much difference, that I am separate, someone else is separate, a tree is separate, a mountain is separate, a river is separate? It is because Swaswarupam Sarvaswarupam Ajnana Drishyate Natu Vastutaha. It is because Bheda is born of Ajnana. Our Upadhi, that is Antakarana, is born of Ajnana. So as long as the Upadhi persists, multiplicity in this Jagat is very much there. That is why multiplicity, Bheda, Dvaita is Vyavaharika. Dvaita is very much there, and Dvaita is there whenever we seek to interact with the Jagat. This is, nobody will ever deny this fact. However, in the higher sense, there is no duality because it is one Paramatma that is appearing as all of this. So, when we do not realize that this Jagat is merely an expression of Paramatma, as Bhagavan said, Ekamshena sthito Jagat, this entire Jagat, अथवा किमेतेन किं ज्ञातेन तवार्जुन विष्टभ्याहमिदं कृत्स्नम् एकांशेन स्थितो जगत्. This entire cosmos is verily a fraction of Īśvara. Īśvara's Shakti, only a fraction of it has expressed itself. Bhagavan says, Ekam aham ekamshena jagat avashtabhya sthitaha. I exist as this Jagat with only a fraction of my true capacity. So it is only if we do not know that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Paramatma is everything, Shivadanyanna Vidyate. It is only when we do not realize this that we see the Jagat as separate, as Paramatma is separate, as ourselves is separate. And indeed, this is the state of Vyavahara. There is nothing wrong in saying that Vyavahara does exist. However, it is only a Jnani who will realize that in the higher sense, the Jagat is nothing more than a Vivarta of Paramatma, the Jiva is nothing more than a reflection of Paramatma, and therefore it is Paramatma alone who exists. There is no second object Eko Rudraha na dvitiyaya tasthu na dvitiyaya tasthe. It is only Rudra that exists, there is no second. It is only Ekameva Dvitiyam Brahma. It is only one Paramatma, there is no second. Eka eva Narayana Asit na Brahmaneshanaha. It is only one Paramatma that exists. Veda has echoed this same sentiment again and again and again in so many different ways. That is what we must understand through the name Shiva. Esha eva hi mantrartha satyam satyam nachanyatha. This is what the mantra is telling us. In the Laukika sense, in the Vyavaharika sense, it is telling us that the Jiva should not seek anything in this world as desirable or undesirable, because he should realize that this entire cosmos is nothing other than Shiva. That is Namah Shivaya. Namaha means Namama. There is nothing in this jagat that is desirable for me or undesirable, because Shiva Danyan Vidyate, because this entire cosmos is Shiva. The Paramatma who is most dear to me is who has appeared as this jagat. Therefore, there is nothing in this jagat that is particularly dear or that is particularly pleasing or unpleasing. In the Vyavahara Drishti, this is the meaning of this mantra. In the higher sense, Shivaya Namaha, I have bent myself in front of Shiva. That is to say, I have understood that as the Jiva, I am only an expression of that Paramatma, I am only a reflection of that Paramatma. My true nature is no different from that Shuddha Paramatma, whose true nature is that Sat, Chit and Ananda. So in the higher sense, this is the mantra, Esha eva hi mantrartha satyam satyam nachanyatha. Who has told us the meaning of this mantra? Have we come up with this means? No. Vedas sarve Puranani smritayo bharatam tatha anyānyapi shastrāni tatha tarkāscha sarvashah Shaivāgamascha vividhaha agama vaishnava api anyāgamascha vidusham anubhutas tatheva asminnarthe svasamvedye paryavasyanti nānyatha. All the Arsha Granthas that we have, all the texts of Sanatana Dharma that the Rishis have given us are telling us this very same thing. Whether it be the Vedas Sarve, all the Vedas, Puranani, all the Puranas, Smritayaha, all the Dharma Shastras, Bharatam Tatha, Anyanyapitra Shastrani, all the other Shastras, even Vyakarana for that matter, all other Shastras, Tatha Tarkascha, Nyaya Shastra, Shaivāgamascha Vidaha, Agama, Vaishnava, Shaivāgamas, Vaishnavāgamas, Anyāgamas, Anyāgamascha, Shaktagamas, all the Agamas, regardless of whatever form the Agamas depict Bhagavan in, whether the Agamas depict Bhagavan in the form of Shiva, or in the form of Vishnu, or in the form of Devi, all those Agamas as well, they all show us this very same thing, that the Jiva should not seek happiness in the material world, because the material world itself is transitory and is a fractional expression of Paramatma. And in the higher sense, that the Jiva's true nature, when he sheds himself of the bonds of his Upadhi, is that Shuddha Paramatma. The true nature of the Jiva is not Īśvara. The true nature of the Jiva is Shuddha Chaitanya, which is Īśvara's true nature as well. So it is this Tattva of the Upanishads, of Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Ayamatma Brahma, Prajnanam Brahma, the nature that has been taught in the Upanishads, Edadvaitat, Yosavasau Purushasohamasmi, Sayaschayam Purusha, Yaschasavaditya, Saekaha, all of these statements in the Upanishads are what have been echoed in all other Tantras, in all other Shastras, in all other Puranas, Smritis. That is what has been echoed in all of these texts. And the beauty is that here it is not just these texts that tell us that, but Vidusham Anubhutis Tathaivacha. This is the experience of those people who have obtained jnana. Those Jivan Muktas, Acharya Purushas, Rishis, Mahatmas, who have attained the highest goal of this human life that has been described in the Shastras as well. This is their experience, that this is the meaning of the mantra, this is the purport of the Shastras, Jiva Brahmaikya in the higher sense, and the fact that the Jiva has no refuge other than Īśvara in the worldly sense. This is the highest meaning of this mantra. This is the experience, the direct experience of Jnanis. Therefore, Asmin Arthe Svasamvedya, this Artha is Svasamvedya. That is to say, until now we can read about it in books, but if we truly attain this Jnana, we ourselves will come to realize this and experience this. Svasamvedye Paryavasyanti Nanyatha. That is why this is the highest goal of human life, and this goal of human life has been shown to us by this Pañcākṣarī Mantra. That is why it is told here that Tasmat Sarvam Parityajya Shadakshara Paro Bhavet Shadaksharena Sarvani Siddhyanti na Samshayaha. So it is this one mantra alone, this Namah Shivaya mantra alone, whether it be done as the Pranava Pañcākṣarī, Shakti Pañcākṣarī, or in a much more universal sense, at its core, this Pañcākṣarī Mantra known as Namah Shivaya. This mantra alone is Sarva Siddhyai. This mantra alone is enough to give us whatever welfare we need in this world, and also to give us the highest form of welfare, which is moksha. Which is why, as we started, Alam Namaskriya Yuktaha Muktaye Kalpate Manuho. It is the greatness of this mantra that in this world it acts as a namaskara to the devata named Shiva. It acts as a namaskara to the form of Īśvara called Shiva, wherein we do namaskara to Paramatma seeking something. The Pañcākṣarī Mantra is very much capable of giving us this as well. But in a much more higher sense for a sadhaka, this Pañcākṣarī Mantra takes upon one more meaning, wherein it shows us that the sadhaka does not seek happiness from this world, he does not seek gratification from this world, but the sadhaka seeks nothing other than Paramatma. In the higher sense of Vyavahara, this is the meaning of the mantra. And this mantra itself acts as a Mahavakya, Parabrahmamayo Hyasau, because, as we said earlier, Namashabdena Jivatvam, Namashabdena Jivatvam Shivetra Paramatmani Aikyangataha. Ato mantra Parabrahmamayo Hyasau. This mantra itself, showing the unity between Jiva and Īśvara, showing the unity between Jiva and Paramatma, is said to be Parabrahmamaya. It is said to be of the nature of that Shuddha Chaitanya, which is to be known. So in the higher sense, this mantra is not only a request for whatever worldly pleasures we may want from Īśvara, it is also not only a direction of how our sadhana should progress, that we have no other refuge other than Īśvara. It is also an expression of the highest jnana that we must receive of Jiva Brahmaikya. So keeping this in mind, I will finish this talk again with what the Purana has told us, wherein it says, Ashesha Vedopanishad Purana Shastravatam Soyam Aghantakari Pañcākṣarasyasya Mahaprabhavaha Kathito Maya Ayam Varishtaha is what the Purana tells us. Ashesha Veda Upanishad Purana Shastra, all of these together discuss the tattva that is known through the Pañcākṣarī, which is why the Acharya Purushas have given us so much sahitya that relates to the Pañcākṣarī. Bhagavatpada has of course given us the Pañcākṣarī Stotra, wherein Nagendra Haraya Trilochanaya, wherein Tasmai Nakaraya Namah Shivaya, Makaraya Namah Shivaya. In this way, Namaskara to Shiva is done. Bhagavatpada has also given us the Shiva Panchakshara Nakshatramala Stotra, wherein it is the Nakshatramala because there are 27 shlokas, 27 nakshatras, 27 shlokas. In each shloka there are 4 lines, and each line ends with this Pañcākṣarī Mantra called Namah Shivaya. So anyone who does Parayana of that Stotra has done one mala of Pañcākṣarī Japa. Doing Parayana of this Stotra once is verily doing one mala of Japa of this Pañcākṣarī Mantra. Srimadatmane Gunaika Sindhave Namah Shivaya, Dhamalesha Dhutakoka Bandhave Namah Shivaya, Namashoshitanamat Bhavandhave Namah Shivaya, Pamaretara Pradhana Bandhave Namah Shivaya. In this way, the phrase Namah Shivaya is repeated 108 times in this stotra, thereby allowing anyone who reads it to obtain the fruit of having done japa of this Pañcākṣarī Mantra. So again, I remind us all, I bring to our attention again that this Pañcākṣarī Mantra does not require formal initiation. There are no restrictions on its japa. There is no restriction based on our individual specifics. Everyone, anyone, any place, any time is fit and indeed will reap great benefits by doing japa of this Pañcākṣarī Mantra. And that is why the Acharyas too have time and time again reminded us that this name of Bhagavan Nama alone is enough to grant us the Saukhya of this world that is free from Papa, as well as the higher sense of Moksha. Which is why I will finish with one shloka that is very dear to Jagadguru Shri Mahasanidhanam Varu, that the Acharya has quoted many times in Anugraha Bhashanas. Shivanamani bhavitentarange mahati jyotishi manini mayardhe vipadopyapayanti duraduram muhurayanti mahanti mangalani. Shivanamani bhavitentarange. The second that the name of Bhagavan, Shiva, which has so much meaning hidden within it, as we have seen for the last in the last hour or so. This name, if it is properly rooted in the heart, then vipadopyapayanti duraduram, all calamities remove themselves, they go far away from such a sadhaka, and muhurayanti mahanti mangalani, all auspiciousness comes in search of the sadhaka. The sadhaka does not have to seek out auspiciousness or welfare. All forms of welfare seek out the sadhaka of their own accord. So keeping this great name of Bhagavan in our mind at all times, let us utilize this Punya Kala of Shivaratri to worship Bhagavan with the utmost bhakti and become recipients of his grace. इत्येषा वाङ्मयी पूजा श्रीमच्छङ्करपादयोरर्पिता तेन देवेशः प्रीयतां मे सदाशिवः. नमः शङ्कराय.